Hi, it's Timmy here. So today I want to share with you about my experience with eating disorder. So, before all of this happened, about like 2 years ago, I was actually not a person who was concerned about my body at all, especially as a very skinny kid most of the time. I usually got teased for being too skinny and model like compared to, being overweight or not looking the fittest. So everything was going all right. I was always proud of how I look. And there was even a moment where I actually took pride in how I look on the outside. And I even said that, you know what, I tried to eat so much, but I could never gain weight. But all of that started to change as soon as I got to grade 11. I think so. Around that time, I started to stay up very late. And you will notice when you stay up late, you tend to get very hungry. And that was the period where I stayed up so late and actually binge ate so much food. Like the quantity I ate at night was huge. And I did that for quite a while, for like over 2 years until I finished high school, that I started to gain some weight. Because around that time, my diet was the worst. I did not only eat a lot, but I also ate a lot of fast foods, and I never paid attention to my health. And the consequences that I got was my acne. I had a lot of breakouts, and it has been on and off ever since until now. I still struggle with acne, and I do believe that parts of it actually are rooted back to the habit that I had when I was in high school, when I stayed up until like 4 to 5 a.m. playing games with friends and eating like crazy because I was so pretentious around that time that, you know what, I'm skinny and I need to gain weight, so I don't mind if I eat late at night. Like, I didn't pay attention to my health at all. And even though I was super skinny before, I feel like my body just couldn't keep up with the diet that I was diving into at around that time. And then as soon as I got to my uni life, before I went to uni, I actually had a blood test because I wanted to cure my face of hormonal acne. And the blood test returned, and it actually alarmed me that I got a really high cholesterol, and also the fat in my blood is actually really high. So I need to cut down on the meat and also the oil because around that time I really like fried foods and I really like to eat junk. Yeah, and it never came to my attention, especially my health, because I knew I was young, so I was a little bit reckless. And the blood test really, pounded the alarm for me and got me to think more about the issues about my health in the long run. So as soon as I got to my uni life, I just, kept the habit of staying up very late into the uni life. I still ate a lot late at night, and slowly but surely, my belly started to, look a little bit not so flat like before. Like it started to show signs of, that indigestion. And also, it is just like protruding, like I was pregnant. And at first, I actually didn't notice that because I was never a self-conscious person, especially when it comes to like body issues. So it was not my concern until one moment when one of my close friends at the restaurant that I work at actually commented on my body. He thought that we were close enough that he could just say whatever he wanted to. And I know that he didn't mean to let it come across as like rude or, mocking. But for me at that time, after his comment, he said that, oh, your belly look a little bit too big today. And then he touched on my belly. And I was so self conscious, like that was the first time that I ever felt embarrassed about my body. And after that moment, I started to notice my body more, but I didn't realize the underlying root cause. So I just went on with it and I didn't know what I could do until I got back to Vietnam in the second year due to the COVID-19. I couldn't continue my study in Melbourne, so I had to return. And when I came back to Vietnam, I actually had more time to focus on myself. So I started to work out more often in the morning. And I also bought a lot of sportswear. Like before in Melbourne, I did go for daily exercise, but I was not so serious about it that I would buy like sport clothes. So this time around, I actually bought more clothes to like feel more excited and more motivated when I go out to work out. So I noticed my belly a lot because whenever you wear like sportswear, you would notice that it is very, fitting. So if you have any imperfection, like your belly is a little bit too big, like then you are going to notice it like right away. So I noticed that and I was reminded of the comment that one of my friends in Melbourne actually said. This time around, I had more time on my own. I was not so busy with other tasks like balancing my independent life, like when I was still in Melbourne. So I had more time to focus on myself, and it also came with a cost, which was that I just, focus more on my body. Like every time I pass by a mirror, I would look at myself and then I tried to like suck all the air in to like make my belly look a little bit flatter, or I would just do everything. And around that time, I became so self-conscious that I started to skip meals because I didn't know the underlying cause that I ate too much at night, and I thought that I was just eating a little bit too much in general. And around that time, just to mind you, that I already turned vegan. So for a vegan person to maintain their vegan lifestyle, they need to eat enough. You would either eat enough, a lot of plant foods, or you are going to eat a lot of junk foods because junk foods are usually more calorie dense. So you are going to eat less but feel, more satiated. So I didn't know that it was because I ate very late at night, and then I started to skip meals. So there's one mistake that I usually make, which is to skip meals in the morning, because that is what people would feel most comfortable with. And also in my case, I felt the best and the easiest when I skipped meals in the morning. So that was what I did. I skipped meals in the morning, I skipped in the afternoon, but not only that, I started to work out more. I work out like crazy. Like I didn't even use my motorbike anymore. And I started to use my bike all the time. Like whenever I needed to go to uni or I needed to go anywhere, I would just, drag my bike out to use instead of my motorbike. So I was exhausting myself to the point where I would sometimes feel a little bit lightheaded. But I just thought, oh, you know what? It is some detoxification symptoms and it is going to go away very soon. But it did not. And things only got worse from there. So as soon as I started to like skip meals, because at around that time, I already knew about intermittent fasting. So I did it more often because I wanted to detoxify my body. That was the sole purpose. And there was one time that I skipped meals for like over 3 days. There was one time I didn't eat anything for like 6 days and I only drank coconut water and also the sugarcane juice. And there was one time that I only drank water for like 3 days. And when you do intermittent fasting and you have professional doctors guiding you how to do so, then it is very beneficial because it has been proven to do a lot of like healthful things. But in my case, I was heading towards a not so positive goal. So I did more than necessary to just like push myself to like lose as much weight as possible. So at around that time, my goal changed from getting a flatter belly to losing as much weight as I could. There was one time I even competed with my mom because her weight is actually much lower than mine. And there was one time that I actually overtook her regarding the weight gain. So there was one time that I only weighed I think 46 or 45 kilos at 1.69 meters. Yeah, so you can imagine how malnourished looking I was. Yeah, I actually fasted a lot. I also did a lot of, enema. So if you don't know what enema is, it is actually like pumping water into your colons to like cleanse it, to get out all the feces, to get your belly a little bit flatter. So I did, like, I tried out all the trends and all the facts that I could find online, and I was so desperate around that time. Like, I was hungry constantly, and when I skipped meals in the morning, I would always binge eat at night, like very late, and I ate a lot, and I always started to feel so bloated the next morning, which has been a concern going on ever since my eating disorder started. So it was a really dark time. I work out all the time. I was never at home, and I spent most of my time just working out and restricting and working out. And during the day, the only thought that I had in my mind was actually food. I was thinking about, which recipe I would make tonight, or what would I prepare for dinner. And it was not the best. If you have eating disorders, you would know that. Like, I would restrict so much that there would be cheat days where I just couldn't control myself, despite how hard I tried. And it was one of the most humiliating feelings you could have ever felt. And I feel like it continued for almost a year. Yeah, because at around that time when I got back to Vietnam, I usually went to my uni campus to do like group works with my friends. And I actually took those chances as an opportunity for me to like skip meals. Like, I would focus on my study, that I would never even bother to like have meals. And when I go back home, I would tell my parents that, oh, I already got my meals at uni, so I don't really need to eat anything no more. Around that time, people just started to notice me more. And if you have been friends with me and you were like with me during the first few months that I first transitioned back to RMIT Vietnam, you would notice that I was looking emaciated. I was not looking plump like I am right now at all. And also at that time, I was having a part-time job that I work quite late into the night, like until 10 p.m. And also I work at the weekend as well, from 1 p.m. till I think around 8 p.m. at night. So I work a lot, I studied a lot, I exercised a lot, and I didn't eat anything. I just tried to ignore the feeling of hunger, and I just consider it as like, so if I felt hungry, then it would be some detoxification symptoms going on. And I was getting to the point where I would like, so around that time I also took a lot of progress photos to look back on. And there was one time when I was at 46 kilos, and I took a lot of photos of myself, and I stood right there in front of the mirror. And because I was so used to my body figure at around that time, so I didn't notice anything different until I actually compared the progress photos. And then I started to realize that it was not the direction that I wanted to go for. And also, so yeah, before that, epiphany moment, there was one time. So, like I mentioned, I actually had a 3-day water fast. And I pushed myself so hard during that 3 days. So I worked out, like I rode my bike constantly. I spent around like 4 to 5 hours a day just to, work out. And on the third morning, the ending day of the 3 day fast, I actually felt so lightheaded and I didn't have any energy after I got back from my morning ride. And I just, slumped onto my bed as soon as I got back home and I wanted to throw up. I felt the worst. It was like I was having the worst flu ever, and I had to drink some water and then I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't look around. I was feeling very dizzy, and then I binge. So that was one of the very few times that I actually binge in the morning. Most of the time I would eat a lot, but very late at night. So that was one moment. There were many more, but for now, I think it is a little bit too much for this short video. And so it came to the point where I realized that I had some issues going on with myself. Then I started to research more, because by that time I was confident enough that I already knew about the true nutrition, but I was a little bit not so right on how to carry it out properly. So that was really the consequences that I got for myself. And then after that, I started to look around more. I noticed that the old people, they actually look very healthy, and they did eat a lot of foods, and they didn't skip anything. So around that time, when I was skipping meals, I was also very scared of fatty foods, and also all of the sweet potatoes and then rice and all of that, because I thought it was going to make me gain weight. And at that time, like I told you, my goal changed to losing as much weight as I could. I lost a half to 1 kilo a day or every 2 days. It was that fast. I lost 10 to, I think, over 10 kilos, 10 to 15 kilos in just 1 to 2 months. So I did lose a lot, and I was addicted to it. And no matter what people told me, I just only thought that, oh, you know what, they were only jealous. And I can totally understand if you go through the same thing and sometimes you think that what you're doing is the best. If that is the best, that is a very good on you. But in my personal case, I was actually very stubborn, and it was not until when I realized it myself. So if you are that person, or if you have any friends who are heading that way, and there is nothing you can do that would change them, just give them time. They'll realize it sooner or later. But be there for them, support them, and offer help if they want to. And yeah, that was also what I received. And yeah, so I look around, I saw so many old people looking very well, and they were just alright. And then I look at my progress photos, and then I started to look up more about a proper diet, and I started to listen to more advice of people who already practiced the vegan lifestyle and how they would have their daily meals and stuff like that. And then I started to change. At first I was a little bit afraid to have breakfast or early meals in the day, because I was obsessed with fasting for a very long time. So it was a process for me, and I feel like it. I feel like everyone has their own story, and the reason why I decided to share my story right here with you guys is that it is okay. And if you ever feel so hopeless about your body or how you look, I just want to let you know that everyone feels some kind of way about themselves. And just look at the past generation, our grandparents who lived up to 80, 90, or 100 years old, and look at how they focus more on the the presence and their spiritual life and stuff like that, instead of following celebrities online and following all the trends. And because the more you look at those models, the more you are going to critique yourself. And to people who like to throw out body shaming jokes, even though you do that to your close friends, but please don't do that. Like, even though you are very close, it's not the best. They will take it personally regardless, and maybe in that moment they're going to just shoo it away and just laugh it off. But deep down, your words would scar their heart, and they would take it very personal. And you don't really know, like, if they actually look in a certain way to you, then of course other people would have noticed it as well, and they would have definitely commented on their body. So as their close friend, instead of dragging them down by your cruel words, please uplift them by saying like nice things, or offering help, or just be there for them. And don't be that friend who just loves throwing inconsiderate jokes, because that is not the best way to help anyone ever. And I know everyone has their own issues, and it is best if you can be kind to everyone. I'm still learning that myself, because I have definitely been through something that there was a time that the only feeling I had was like hatred. I just didn't want to share anything, and I wanted to keep everything to myself, because I don't really know, I was not feeling the best around that time. And I'm still learning to be like more kind, to be more compassionate, and I really want to spread that positive energy to you guys. And that is a little story that I have for you guys today. Anyways, I'll see you guys very soon in the next videos. Cheers.